I don't do product unboxings very often, but I'm kind of stoked about this one, so I figured I'd make it part of the video for the wiring harness build on the 240. So this is the unboxing of the Speedway 22 circuit wiring harness. So this kit comes with pretty much everything you need to wire an entire car. Comes with a GM ignition switch connectors. It comes with headlight switch and a high beam switch. Even comes with a pretty nice looking little knob in here. Probably won't be using any of this on the 240, but not bad stuff. It comes with flashers, relays, all the clips, the fuses, all the hardware, butt connectors, pretty much everything to wire this thing in that you'll need. It also comes with the alternator and starter and headlight wiring kit, which is fairly heavy duty wiring. They even nice enough to wire it for an old school GM alternator if you're running that type of setup. Miscellaneous little clips and clamps that go in different connectors. And here's the main bit, the main wiring harness, 22 circuits. Everything's clearly marked. You have flashers, hazard flashers, everything's supplied. The wiring coming off of it is bindled, zip tied, so it can be laid out to go to its individual sections of the car. All the wiring is automotive grade. It's marked every 6 inches, color coded. This harness by itself weighs about 12 pounds or so. It definitely doesn't feel cheaply made. And of course, what's high performance stuff without stickers? Best way to add horsepower. This is the biggest thing to me. Most of these wiring kits will come with an instruction book, and it's black and white, and there's a diagram, and you got to reference the list to figure out what colors go where. This one comes with a full color poster, damn near. Not only is the harness completely laid out on this page as you receive it, but they not only break it down by color, but by which sub-harness, what type of wire. It's crazy. It's wonderful that they would take the time to make a instruction sheet this detailed. It even comes with all the sub-harnesses. This one's for the brakes and the tail lights. This drawing's for the alternator and the starter connections. Shows you exactly where everything goes. It even has a generic starter switch if you're going 100% custom. I really can't wait to get this thing into the car and start running wires. Shipping weight on this is 14 pounds. It's not some cheap little piece of crap, but it's also about half the price of a painless unit. This thing got a lot of 5-star reviews on Speedway's site. So today's the day I'm going to start wiring this thing up with the Speedway harness. I've decided that harness is going to go right here. I'm going to leave this tab and everything. I'm going to leave these. I'm not going to cut anything off just in case I have to revert it back or anything like that. So what I did was took some measurements and actually put the dashboard back in and put the glove box trim back in, and took some measurements and came up was my normal cardboard engineering. I come up here the other night with this piece of cardboard and cut it out and punched holes at the top, hung it in here, made sure it looked good, And that's kind of what I use to stencil out how everything's going to go. Panel that I can use to mount this thing into the car. As you can see, I've already bent it and cut it. I don't have any expensive tools, so just stick it in a vise and hammer it down to the angle that I need. The two circles are for where the fuse block is gonna actually be mounted, and this will get sanded and painted and probably wrapped with a bunch of stickers just to look neat. But right now I got to get this piece attached to that bar, so fun. So when it's all said and done, it should look something like this. I'm gonna have to get some kind of a spacer, or it's just gonna be a slightly crooked mount. But I've already marked some spots to drill some holes so I can run some self-tappers in here. And I've already thought about it. If this thing's not strong enough or it's floppy, I'll end up making a couple of brackets that come over the top that I'll screw down into the top of this to give it some more structure. But one step at a time. Let's go drill some holes. So basically drill some holes in the top of this, then climb up underneath the dashboard and drill a couple of holes, or drill a bit that are smaller than your self-tappers. That way it makes a nice little guide. Then screw in all your self-tappers. There's our panel with a little bit of paint on it. Not looking too shabby. Those should be good for about, what, an extra 200 horsepower? Some of y'all may have wondered why I did all that pre-drilling. Because when this thing gets bolted in tight, I'm not going to be able to get at it with a drill. So, there's the air freshener. You're going to have to get one of these guys. There's the plate mounted in. There's the fuse block mounted. Now we get to throw the dashboard back in and see if we're going to be able to keep any of the glove box. I'm not too confident about having any glove box space, but we'll see. Well, it looks like my lack of confidence was pretty well placed. Even if I chop the glove box all up and basically rebuild it half its size, I may not be able to keep it. I'm going to go ahead and make some marks and do some pre-cuts and see what it looks like. Alrighty then. Alright, so I made a cut. We're going to try and keep this much of the glove box. We'll see. This glove box gives a little bit more room for that fuse block to stick out, so we're going to try and just loosely test fit it and see what it looks like. Well, after the first test fit, no go. Gonna lose the glove box. Lost a bunch of other stuff like heat and AC and all that kind of good garbage. Glove box isn't too big of a deal. But I've achieved my goal. Obviously a rough fit, but the fuse block is behind the glove box. Glove box closes, everything fits. Now we just gotta wire it. And here's the first part of the battle. That whole beautiful, you know, wound up nice thing. You gotta take that all apart and start figuring out where all these bundles of wires go. Luckily these instructions are pretty good. Right now I'm just going to try and get them shot across to where, you know, the dimmer switch and turn signals and all of my front accessories are going to go out through here somewhere in this general vicinity. Rears are going to go down this rocker panel. So it ought to be interesting. Doesn't look like much, but starting to make some progress. So we got to start somewhere. So we're going to get all these wires that are laying out here on the ground fed into the engine compartment. This is all the front headlights, turn signals, fans, all that kind of neat stuff. So I got all this kind of bundled together now. This is all the stuff for the front. I forgot my drill, so I'm not going to be able to get that done today, so I've switched gears and I'm starting down in the center where all my switches are going to be. These are some accessory circuits. This is for headlights, high-low, and I'm starting to try and comb through this harness and get it to start laying out where it needs to go. I'm just in a bad way today. Forgot my drill, forgot to pick up some wire loom, so I can't run any wires to the front or the back. But I've been combing through the harness pretty steady, and I'm starting to get it actually broke up. As you can tell, it still looks like hell, but it's getting organized. So today we're going to try and make some more sense out of this wiring. Went to Homemade Depot, got some tape, bunch of wire loom. We're going to try and make a little more sense out of all this. So finally got the main wire loom in. Still looks a little crazy, but we're going to start tying up some of these loose ends. Alright, so we got the rear whip all done up. We're going to probably come through here, try and tuck it away through one of these holes, run it inside this rack. Now, just to give you an idea of how I've done this, the factory wiring, and here's a piece of the clip, ran down along here, jumped over this piece of the frame, was held down by a clip, and then ran across to where it is right now, right there. I am jumping into the rocker panel with loom wiring, and we're going to bring it back out if everything works out right at this hole. For right now, I'm pulling it and getting it whipped to right here. This is where the seat belt was. Since I'm not going to be running stock seat belts, I should be okay to leave this setup like this. And here's the finished product for basically tucking this rear wiring harness inside the car. I'm going to come up and clip that up here. I'll get me a little wire keeper to go here, and that'll be pretty much out of the way. And then entering and exiting the vehicle, there's absolutely nothing in the way. Rear whip comes out right at this hole, and as you can see, the factory harness laying right here starts right there. So once I pull this panel and run it to the back, this harness will pretty much disappear. I know the car looks like hell, but that's basically the entire wiring harness for the car laying in the floorboard. I still have to get that whole thing out and scavenge a bunch of connectors off of it. So if we zoom in right there, we can see the new rear wire harness coming out from the rocker panel. We're going to have to run that up this fender over that little pillar right there and back into the back where that harness is right there. to give you an idea, this is the factory harness. I'll lay this all out when I get done. It's ridiculous. So now we got most of the hairball out. It came all the way down from that driver door all the way around the passenger side, all to the tail lights. We're going up underneath this guy, and that'll be the last of the wiring harness. Quick overflight. This is the front harness in its pretty much entirety, and then starting from the back passenger side, this is the main harness inside the car, going all the way around. There's the that's the BCM that's underneath the shifter, little center console thing. There's a main relay box, secondary relay box. There's a lot of flicking wires in here. Both of these things probably weigh about 65, 70 pounds. They're ridiculously complicated. That's why we're getting rid of them. And there's only two wires that I had to cut, which was this one that goes somewhere down here, I think, for the bumper or tag light things. And then there's one little wire, if you can see it in there. See a little wire? It does something with this thing, with the latch. I'm thinking it's like a warning light or something like that. And I wasn't about to take this whole latch assembly apart, so I cut that bastard too. Now that all that's done, we start rewiring the tail end of this car. And probably clean it up because it's a flicking mess. And there's the wires, all stubbed into their new home. Managed to get all the way around and have plenty of room for hot and cold for the fuel pump. I ran out of cinder wire, which is that guy, but we're close, so it'll be a short little jump. Next thing I do is start wiring all the tail lights up, all them guys, those guys. So real quick, basically what I did was I cut this whole back harness off from the front of the harness, and now I'm going to deconstruct this whole thing and take out every little plug and clip that I need and stub them off into whips, so that way I can just come in and hit them with a soldering iron. Just as a little update, all the tail lights, where are we at? Are now ready to rock. Car looks like hell. That's because I had to take all this stuff off the back of it. My other little video, we had a problem. So this is the hot ground fuel level, because we're going to be putting a fuel cell in this car. Don't have any choice. The fuel tank is completely screwed. So that's a different video. We're going to get to hooking up the fuse block and running the front wiring harness, and then obviously we got to do the brake switch and wire up the turn signals and windshield wipers and all that other good garbage. So hopefully done with the back of the car for now. We're going to move on to the front.